I know a lot of you saw that headline, and that is that the Trump inauguration had a major change, and that was just, I don't know if it's been officially announced, but has been highly, not even speculated. Sources are saying the Trump inauguration will be moving indoors. Now, the primary reason for this, you may have expected, is because of very cold weather that is coming on Monday to Washington, D.C. However, you can also look into this and say this could be a very big sigh of relief for the Secret Service. Now, it is a bummer for a lot of people who are planning on making that trip. I know there are people in our own office doing that. There are people who are involved who really want to go see that moment, family members. But unfortunately, all reports are right now that the Trump-Vance swearing-in ceremony, traditionally that takes place, will be moving inside, likely inside the Capitol. And that's where we're at.
That's right. So clearly there hasn't been an official announcement, but every reporter in D.C. is getting the same information from sources, which means they're getting it out there now with a official announcement with what it will look like forthcoming. But we're seeing that because of what they're calling dangerously cold temperatures expected on Monday, that they are moving it inside. That means it'll be in the rotunda there at the Capitol. And when you look at the weather, this isn't typically, we're not giving you 10-day forecast here, but on Monday, it is a high of 24 degrees, a low of 9, expected to be around 22, 23 degrees around the time of the swearing in. People are obviously there for hours upon hours beforehand as they try to get their position in on the lawn.
One of my friends that has a ticketed version says that he had to arrive at 5 a.m.
Right.
So, I mean, you're talking about a very cold even sun coming up. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm actually looking at the comments, and a lot of you are very happy about this and are really, mainly because of safety. Obviously, everyone was concerned when you've had multiple assassination attempts on a presidential candidate, what this looks like. And sadly, this is the state of America. I think this is something we could hopefully get away from soon. But right now, the safety and security of everyone is dealing with this. Let's go to Robin, who's calling in Nevada on line 1. Robin, you're on the air.
Is the inauguration taking place in the same Capitol where Trump was supposed to have incited the storming of the Capitol January 2nd? Is that not poetic justice?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if it's poetic justice, but you can at least say that it is an interesting, maybe you say, into that story.
Right, final chapter of that.
As George Lucas would say for Star Wars, it echoes. It has a moment where the theory goes around and it all comes full circle.
Does that mean that there's going to be 36 more Trump inaugurations because of the way the Star Wars franchise works out? I'm talking about
the original Star Wars.
Oh, okay, got it.
History repeats itself to a way where, yes, you have these sort of big moments where you'll have this conclusion. And yes, I think that will be part of the story in history.
Right.
I think history books will look in books, the web, the internet, will look back and say, our brain chips from Elon, will say, isn't that wild? That's a crazy into this story, if you will, that because of the weather. Now, this is not the first time the inauguration had to be moved inside. It happened to Ronald Reagan. It's happened multiple times throughout this entire run. But hey, you know what? President Trump is a Floridian now. He knows too cold. Too cold.
Right.
Too cold.
To her point, our caller's point, you can guarantee that on MSNBC and CNN, they are going to have side-by-sides,
of course,
of the swearing-in ceremony and the protesters walking through the rotunda.
Van Jones going to be crying.
They have already, as soon as this information went out, they ordered the graphics department to start mocking up the side-by-side, try to find the right angle so it looks identical, because they're going to try to repeat that forever.
Yeah, it's like my wife took a great picture of my kids walking across Abbey Road and nailed it perfectly. That's what they're going to do. They're just going to be exactly the same. Let's go to Lori, who's calling. You've been on hold for a long time. Welcome.
I just have a comment as far as the inauguration location is at. It doesn't matter to me. I just want him sworn in as President of the United States.
Lori, I think that's a lot of us. A lot of us just want the safety and security to return once again.
Well, and even remember, though, as you think about these things, the first inauguration, he did the very unprecedented move of getting out of the limousine and walking down Pennsylvania Avenue with Barron and Melania. And a lot of people were like, is he going to try to do that again? And I think the answer on that was going to be no. I don't think that the Secret Service would have allowed that at this point. The inauguration, while secure, and they put as many Secret Service individuals on it as possible and as many resources throughout the federal government as they can on it, when you're exposed in a city there's only so much threat mitigation you can do, especially if it's a moving pathway. And I think that the Secret Service would not have allowed that to risk any sort of disruption or failure, again, based off the year they've had. But moving it indoors, I think, is a sigh of relief for those at the Secret Service that they can contain that ceremony 100% indoors.